Well, I guess I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, well, okay, so. Hello. Coming live from
Really?
the
Already?
harbor front. Yeah, I already pressed record.
Okay.
From the library. I have
This is
Jess.
so fast.
Yeah, I
Hi.
know. Okay, so. Yeah, so you do magazines.
Yes, I write zines.
And
Self-published.
have you always liked magazines?
No.
No?
I guess I'm pretty selfish that way. I'm more into having people read what I want to write, but only by their choosing. I don't like forcing things on people.
Right.
So that's why I only tend to give these zines to my close friends.
Okay.
And they can choose to read, or I distributed them at the vault.
Yeah. Do you put them anywhere else?
I put them at Fascinating Rhythm.
Okay.
And in the newspaper stands, which have the one in the front, I just replaced the Nanaimo Daily News with the Free Will.
Nice.
Yeah, and one time I put them in the Navigator, the VIU student newspaper. The Navigator has their own little newspaper box, and I replaced that one with the Free Will, and the editor of the Navigator sent me a very angry email. I know it was a bit cheeky, but it was my first issue, and I just had no regard for authority. Yeah, and then he ended up reading it and said, "Actually, this is pretty cool. I'd like to do an interview with you." So that was my first interview with the Free Will, was for the Nav.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I like Adbusters a lot.
I don't.
No? Do you know about Adbusters?
I know about it. Yeah.
Okay, and like you've read it a bit, or?
I know of it, and I have not read the contents of it.
Okay.
What is it?
Well, it's kind of similar, like, because the guy who created Adbusters is was influenced a lot by Dadaism.
I don't know.
No, it's like, and surrealism, like they kind of, but like what you do with like your collage, it's almost like a collage with the text, and then sometimes it's like kind of like mismatched, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's as far as my artistic talents go.
But they do kind of things like that as well, so I wasn't sure if that
What's the content? What do they write about?
I think it's technically like socio-political, environmental, like cultural, like it's really pretty wide ranging.
Wow, pretty.
And it's based in Vancouver too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it being on the racks in our high school library. Same with Wired, but I was into like shitty young adult novels back then. Yeah, I have a very low attention span for reading. I only listen to podcasts, and that's while I'm doing something else. It's pretty sad because I should be like a
participator
in the whole.
Yeah.
If I'm writing magazines, I should also be reading them.
Well, yeah. So do you read like a lot of books?
I read mostly like pop psychology and philosophy.
Okay. So you can get through like heavy philosophy books.
I can, like piece by piece.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible student. The only reason I graduated VIU was because philosophy was the only thing that just came naturally, and I barely did any homework, and I only worked as hard as I respected my professor.
Right.
And I respected them as people.
Yeah.
But there were only a few of them that made me want to work really hard. So I rarely did any homework. I rarely completed all my readings, and I am just a terrible student. So I feel like I'm embarrassed to admit that. But
oh well. Did you go to university right after high school?
No, I took a year off.
Okay.
And then,
oh, nice. And then decided philosophy, because
I didn't decide philosophy.
Oh.
I defaulted into philosophy because it was the only thing I did well in.
But you did
I
have
would
an
fail
interest
everything else.
in philosophy.
I didn't know until I took rhetoric and reasoning,
okay,
which was mandatory for my intended psychology degree. And as soon as I took that class, my mind just exploded. Like I think that should be required for high school or younger. Like
well, because I've had I've kind of thought that it should be required too, but then I've taken a philosophy class in CEGEP, like in Quebec. Yeah. And there's a bunch of people who really don't give a shit. And like, it's just like...
About what?
Philosophy.
They don't know what it is. It's so misunderstood.
No. Yeah. Well, but even in class, it's like people are like, as
like
if I have to take philosophy. And it's like, really? Like, you'd rather take like business or like people just don't seem to really like dive into philosophy.
I know, but the ones who do end up going through at least one, I think, and like focus a little bit, end up developing like a healthy respect for what it is.
Yeah.
But the ones that don't, they're just
Yeah, I feel like there's a
It's kind of
lot
cool.
missing from life if you're not having some sort of philosophical existential crisis.
I know,
in a
you
way.
have to be a philosophical type of person to enjoy philosophy, I think.
Yeah.
If you're not and you're just focused on like going into business or making money or just working for the man, you're not gonna be interested in philosophy as a subject. Yeah.
Do you think it's because it like undermines that type of lifestyle?
I think so. Yeah, I think it kind of exposes just the emptiness of it all, that kind of life. Just the rat race.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Like my first year or two of philosophy, I went through like my first existential crisis, like after taking ethics and
was there anything in
understanding
particular?
relativism and like Camus and just the notion of the absurd, and it just that really clicked with me, and just it took a while before I could accept that like a meaningless life can still potentially be meaningful if you work at it. There's no inherent meaning, which is terrifying at first, but it opens eventually. I think it opens the door to like a pretty rich, fulfilling life, but you have to work at it.
Yeah, because it's easy. Once you're starting with philosophy, it's easy to come to that existential moment, and then a lot of people either decide, like, fuck it, it all sucks, or develop some, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of heading towards spirituality in a sense, like, to have that meaning. Like,
what do you mean?
not like, well, just like, I'm just beginning, so I don't know, like, not necessarily religions, but like have you ever heard of Alex Gray?
Did he?
He's like an artist.
Oh, no.
No, okay. Yeah, he's not just an artist, but he's an artist. And I read a book from him called Sacred Mirrors. And it just kind of shows you pictures, like it shows like the skeletal system and then like the nervous system and like the muscles and then like the skin, and it's just like, what are we, kind of?
Oh,
like
we're just a vessel.
Well, not necessarily that, but like we're more than just like there's a lot going on, kind of. And I was like I don't know, it was kind of like a moment for me where I was like, okay, because I've always been anti, like, I guess God, I don't know.
Oh my god, I went through my militant atheist phase too.
Yeah.
My really influential professor was a militant atheist, and I was pretty impressionable at the time too, and he lent me the God Delusion and this book by Douglas Kruger called What is Atheism, which I really recommend. Just boils everything down so succinctly. All the possible arguments and responses. But it became like the Bible in a sense, where I would just learn these responses to give to these religious people, and I would go seeking out these discussions. It became kind of unhealthy. My mind was really closed to spirituality without religion. And then later, after graduating, I got into like Alain de Botton and his book Spirituality, Religion. What's the book? I wrote a review on it for my zine. And Spirituality Without Religion. What's the book called? He has a TED Talk called Atheism 2.0. That's this. He developed into that book. Basically, all the good parts about religion, and you can just the rest you can just brush away, just pick and choose, which is what religious people do anyway. They choose what suits them. But here it's like a more logical way. Like you don't have to accept anything supernatural to reap the psychological benefits of religion. If you just have an open mind, which I didn't for a long time.
Yeah, well, I just watched that Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan. I forget which one it was, but it really fucked me up in a way, because I have been very like, not that I'm not left leaning, but I've like definitely had more liberal views on like things, like because he got in trouble with the whole gender pronoun thing,
Yeah.
and then talking about how a lot of these well, not a lot of them, but there are people who, like when he was trying to give a speech, were like blowing air horns and stuff like that. Did you see that?
That was ridiculous.
And it's like, but I know a lot of people who, if somebody says something out of line, like politically
politically
not
incorrect?
yes,
Yeah.
politically incorrect, like when it comes to like
Controversial?
sexuality or and they'll just like attack,
I know.
you know? And it's like, I never realized that the debate isn't really happening anymore. Like,
No.
it's a one-sided thing, and the people who are saying like, but why, are getting shut down and like...
I know. And Jordan Peterson, he's just a psychologist. Like, he's just kind of delivering things as he sees it. He has all these, it's his livelihood. Like, he spends his life talking to so many people. He has like a really good cross-section of a lot of people, of humanity, Western humanity. And he just says things as they are, I feel like. And the social justice warriors just don't like it because it goes against their left-leaning beliefs, and they're no different from the alt-righters and stuff like this. They're just so obsessed with their own,
because there's no leniency in thought.
And like that's the problem with like both sides of the spectrum, and like people in general just have a hard time with the gray area and uncertainty, and it just terrifies them. And that goes back to like existentialism and meaninglessness. Like people are so scared of not understanding and not knowing, and rather than just like dig into the subtleties of any situation and looking at both sides from above, they entrench themselves into one end of the spectrum and like battle it out. It's scary. Yeah.
And I mean, like, I don't think I was like all the way there, but you know, I would, like, if my friend says something like, what the fuck, like, you know, I kind of got indoctrinated in a way. Like, well, like, if my friends are saying, like, you're a pussy or something like that, and I was kind of like, you know, like, you probably shouldn't, like, it's just not nice to say that, but I say it, like, or, like, I read your thing about, like, being a vegetarian and vegan and stuff like that, and, like, how it's, like, a hard line of, like, you're not right, like, period. You know, like
in your case, I'm using that language?
Well, like in my head, not necessarily saying that, but in my head, I'm like, you're wrong. Like, you're really wrong. And unwilling to see that other side. And like, seeing that Jordan Peterson podcast, I was like, damn, like there's smart people on both sides.
I know. He's so misunderstood.
Yeah.
He's really he says a lot of things that are obvious, like clean your room.
Yeah.
So 12 rules. But a lot of people need to hear that.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, me too.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Like, that helps me a lot.
Well, because, and he's talking about, he's like, you don't understand the economy. And like, I'm 24 and like, I've been thinking about this shit for like years. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not going to fix it single-handedly, you know, and like, I have so much going on internally that I haven't dealt with.
Sort yourself out before you try to. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I was like, fuck.
But he's so widely known, mostly for this bullshit about gender pronouns.
Which is kind of great at the same time, because I probably never would have heard about him if he didn't have all this.
I know, right? Yeah, I gave him this platform, and people are like, what else has he got to say? And his body of work goes way beyond that, and he has so many more valuable things to say, but people just dismiss him right away. They just call him like a misogynist for like, oh god, it just makes me so angry. Just like, listen to it. People in my Facebook bubble too. Like, you would think the people in my bubble on Facebook would be more open to the subtleties, but they're not. And if they're not, then most of the world definitely is not.
Yeah. No, he
he's good. I'm seeing him and Sam Harris duke it out 2 days in a row.
Are they, like, they're debating?
Yeah, they added a second day, too, because there was such a high demand. And they're debating. Did you listen to that disaster of a podcast on Sam's Waking Up podcast?
No.
He had Jordan on twice.
Okay.
The first time was this 3-hour conversation that went so badly because before they could even get off the ground, they discovered that neither of them agreed on the nature of truth, like what is truth.
Okay.
And the whole 3 hours was them talking past each other.
Oh.
And they were right in their own heads.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going to convince each other of their way. Like they were able to like paraphrase each other and understand each other's position, and they didn't necessarily disagree with it. I think they just needed a different word for each of their respective ideas of truth.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there was a poll, like should he come on again? Because Jordan Peterson was Sam's #1 requested guest by far.
Okay.
And so he came on again, and they had like a slightly more productive conversation. But yeah, they're so interesting. The two of them, people lump them in the same category because they're both the things they agree on are contentious among the rest of society, like free speech, and not censoring. Like if you don't want to call somebody by pronoun, you shouldn't be mandated to call them that, or else you lose your job. Like, it's not about being rude to these people. It's about like preserving your own free speech, things like that.
Yeah.
And other things they agree on. But the things, what does Sam say once? He's like, he was reading, it was on his Ask Me Anything podcast, and he was reading a fan letter, which I secretly think he wrote himself.
Oh.
And it said like, I agree with 90% of what Jordan has to say, but I don't know, 10% of it just seems like utter bullshit. And Sam was like, you can tell that's Sam's view too.
Yeah.
So I think Sam wants to get at that 10% in these debates, and where it's going to be really good. Yeah. And there's I've listened to a few of these live recordings. He said in one AMA he's gonna stop recording the live shows because you can't get what's true in the room onto the podcast, which is hilarious. He said that because that's like it undermines what his
Sam Harris said this was? Or Jordan Peterson?
Sam said this.
Okay.
He said on it, it's like, anyway, I'm going on a tangent.
It's okay.
I do that a lot. And what was I? Yeah, I'm on a really big tangent.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say was just Sam does affirmative action at his question and answer periods, and there are so few women in the crowd that he gets them. It's like man, woman, man, woman. So there's a high chance I'll be able to ask my questions on both nights, and when it's a book signing night, I'll be up at the front. So I'm thinking of what question I want to ask.
And that's when?
That's June 24th.
In Vancouver?
Yeah, over the weekend. And so I'm thinking of what questions to ask either of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the question I want to ask Jordan, because one of his beliefs is that everyone is subconsciously living out a myth that they've internalized from childhood, myths that have been passed
or
on.
like archetypal. Yeah.
He's like a Jungian.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
After that podcast, I went and bought A Hero with 1,000 Faces.
Yeah, I bookmarked. I need to read that.
I'm like only 100 pages in, but I'm like, whoa.
I really need to read that. I've read The Power of Myth and the first part of it.
I took that out here actually. That one, I just read like in bed, like before sleeping, because it's more like it's a dialogue, right? That one.
Yeah.
So I kind of just skimmed through. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's so illuminating, I find. Like the stories, because I was from the belief like that the Bible, it's like, as if they believe that. And it's like there's actually a lot of really cool symbology in it. And yeah, just like the myth of the Minotaur, it's like it's pretty much talking about the ego versus and the shadow. Like the Minotaur is the king's shadow, and then he puts him in the labyrinth, and then the labyrinth is kind of like
is that where the labyrinth came from? The idea of the labyrinth came from that myth?
I think they were probably around before that.
What was the labyrinth supposed to?
It held the Minotaur. So yeah, the king, in order to become king, he asked Poseidon for like the best bull. And then he gave him the bull on the condition that he would sacrifice the bull. Yeah. And then he became king and was like, no, I'm not going to sacrifice the bull. So then Poseidon made his wife want to have sex with the bull. And then so she like got into this fake cow and the bull has sex with her. And then she gives birth to a minotaur.
What?
And then he is like, I don't want to kill it, but I'm not dealing with that. So he gets a guy to build a labyrinth to hide the minotaur in. And then so that is like the shadow. So like, and like the deeper the labyrinth is, like the more things you're trying to hide and the harder it is to get to the center, which is the true self. Yeah. And then you like leave as like, you know, you can just like kill your ego, which is like the minotaur, yeah. And then come out. And it's like, there's a lot of really cool stuff.
I have a problem with this like myth as an explanation for human like patterns, or I just think it like, I haven't worked this out yet in my head, but I want to go back to the tangent.
Okay.
That I
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which was, so Jordan's into all that Jungian archetype myth things, and he thinks that everyone's playing out a myth that they've internalized through childhood, and it's like we don't even realize it. We just looking back, we kind of can make the story and put it onto this myth that already exists somewhere. And I want to ask him what myth he thinks he's playing out.
Well,
right now, because he's such a contentious
is
figure.
it like, I guess, yeah, there's different myths, but there's no like meta myth, because he, like, Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey, and like that's what Jordan Peterson's talking about too. And I kind of think that the point is that everybody has the choice to go and take the path, whatever the hero's journey is for each individual person. But like, there's something that calls to you, and you either choose to do it or don't. Which, yeah, you wrote. Oh, I actually. The last thing in the last free wheel where it's like, you have a decision to make and you either choose or die wondering.
Oh, the short story?
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. Because, like, I think a lot of people do.
Like option paralysis? Or just
not option paralysis, but, like, just fear of doing what they know they want to do.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And, like, that's the hero's journey. And, like, if you do what you want to do, it's really hard. And you have to make so many choices. Then, like, you can always fail. Yeah. But a lot of people just don't want to fail. So they don't take the journey. And then when they're 70 years old, they're horrible. Yeah. Because they're like, I wish I did. Yeah. I wish I did. Yeah. And then I kind of, because you were like living in a van, right? You said every summer.
For like 3.5 summers.
Yeah. And I just, like, I find that kind of stuff really, really cool.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. How did you get into that?
Oh, are we changing subjects?
Yeah, well, unless you want to talk more about Jordan Peterson and stuff and philosophy.
He might come up later, but this is the first article of my first issue. I had just come back, backstory, I had just come back from teaching in Korea, and that's where I had amassed this pile of stationery, which with all the English on it, which I used for my zine.
Okay.
I had no idea why I was collecting the stationery, but I felt like I just needed to. It was so funny, the English. and so I came home, I had like a big tote full, and I delayed getting a job for quite a while, 8 months. I instead bought a van and house sat and lived in my van for 8 months.
Yeah.
And I needed like a creative outlet. I had all this time and stationery, and I put the two together. I was like, I'll print it on the stationery. Yeah. And so, the first article was about living in my van, since that's what I was doing. And I was feeling very passionate about it. And that's it.
You just, like, did you know anybody who had done that?
No. I think why did I want to do that?
Well, it's pretty badass.
I love being mobile. I love small spaces. I hardly have anything. It just seemed kind of obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started following some blogs about people living in their vans.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a movement.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a movement.
Yeah.
Which has, I think, kind of turned into the tiny house on wheels movement.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally into.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it, but I really want it. That's my next.
You would rather, like, what made you stop doing the van thing? Because you did it for 3 summers? 3.5?
Whether I wanted to settle.
Yeah.
I think at the time, I just like also lucked into a nice communal living situation, which is my second favorite way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like either a whole bunch of people who really like each other in one big home.
Yeah.
Or by yourself in a van.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I just bought a bunch of camping gear like for my bike.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some bike packing.
Cool.
And then, but like the van thing, I'm just really broke. And a bike, it's free.
Yeah.
You know, no gas or anything. So, but I was like, my dream would be an electric van.
Oh man.
And living in an electric van. That would be sick.
What about a van that runs on like canola oil? How much are they?
I mean, yeah, if it's cheaper than, but electric is like the thing.
I know, it's expensive. Wow.
But once you have it, it's okay.
Well, I'm an apprentice electrician now, so maybe I can work
fuck
on
yeah.
that.
Oh my god.
I want to like get into the alternative energy.
Yeah.
I just started though.
And then with like tiny homes and stuff like that.
I want to wire my own tiny home, and I want to market myself as a tiny home wirer.
Right.
Anyways, I was going to say about the vans. I did this in a Westphalia for 2 or 3 summers, and then the last summer I did it in a Dodge Caravan, which like I much preferred it.
Oh,
just
really?
Took the seats out. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can modify it as.
So you would suggest?
I would suggest the Dodge Caravan because it was way better on gas. They're pretty cheap, and I never had any problems.
And it's like relatively like the same size.
Yeah, same inside. I never used the kitchen in my Westphalia either. So if you want a way to like
you just use like a camp stove or something, or
I more like lived out of my van. I ate out a lot.
Okay.
I didn't really cook.
Yeah. Okay. Because no, that kind of lifestyle is like screaming at me right
I know. It feels so good.
Yeah, because
So
it's just like
free.
Rent pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it's just money down the drain. Oh
yeah,
God.
and it's like I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that van life
Do it.
seems really sick. Yeah.
That's how I got the idea of the title, Free Wheel.
Oh.
Because I felt like, free will. And also it sounds like free will.
Right. Yeah.
Which I don't even agree with. I'm like more on Sam Harris's.
Yeah. Because now me too. Like, I've felt extremely blessed, like just to be alive, and like meeting all these people and like the path that I'm going down and like just like this kind of cool like self-sufficiency is like what I'm into right now.
Me too.
And yeah, I just feel blessed. But like the things that happen to me, it's like I'm only doing this because of every other little thing that's happened in the for my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yeah, I've kind of been thinking a bit about free will and like
there is only one possible outcome to every action, and it's like a causal chain.
Yeah.
And you're here because necessarily because of everything that's happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sam's position, which I agree with, can be like distilled in this quote from him that says, "You can decide what to do, but you can't decide what you decide to do." That's base. Like, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and a friend of mine, Trevor, is a writer. He writes, and because I was talking to him a bit about free will, and then he brought up mental illness, and I was like, oh fuck, like you don't have a chance. So it's like that's not really like that's destiny in a way, like.
Yeah, and that's actually related to the question I wanted to ask Sam. If I don't want to ask Jordan, the myth one, is how does somebody with addiction and mental illness, like, how can you... wait a minute, what was the wording? I wrote this down because my friend Aubrey, who I'm going with, he He worded it so well. It was our mutual question. Just a second. I have it saved. Uh-oh. Yes.
Hello. It's all good.
Wow. The same time I pull out my phone, we get an interruption. It's destined to be interrupted right now.
Free will.
Let's see. Questions for Jordan and Sam. How does compulsive behavior fit into your framework of free will? Free will, or what's the distinction between compulsive and normal behavior? I think I forgot to finish that one. Yeah. So, if you, does that question even apply? Because he doesn't believe in free will, so that would just make it extra true for somebody who's addicted.
Like they didn't have.
Like the extra don't have a choice.
Yeah.
They never had a choice. If you don't have a choice to not have a mental illness. So
Yeah.
You don't have a choice to have one.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's not a good question after all.
Well, and just like growing up too, like I went to Brennan Lake. Was it this summer? Which is just like north Nanaimo. No.
North Nanaimo is like another country to me.
Yeah.
No, I hear it's so beautiful. There's beaches
visually, but there's fuck all to do. But Brennan Lake, I was hanging out, and then there's a kid, I don't know, maybe he was like 5 or 6 or something like that, and maybe younger, I don't know, and he was chasing this other kid. He's like, I'm gonna kill you, and I was really high, so that I was like,
must protect this child.
Well, no, I was like, why is he saying I'm gonna kill you to another kid? Like, I was thinking let's say he was like in a tribe where they actually kill animals like every day, like for food. You probably wouldn't say I'm gonna kill you to this kid. Like death is a serious thing to like people who kill.
Yeah.
So, and like I was thinking like, it's all hypothetical. Like this kid probably watches a lot of television or like videos and stuff like that, and like his mom seemed like super distant and like just it didn't seem like a good thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this kid in a certain respect doesn't have as good of a chance as someone else, like just like parenting and things like that,
Without
it's like,
somebody to redirect.